Welcome to Char, Tito Puente Jr. Thank you so much for joining Nelson Marquez and I.
Yes.
Nice to
How are
be
you
here.
today?
Nice to be here, guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
Eso.
What were some of the different phases that you went through, childhood, teenage, and becoming a man, and then becoming a father? And how did those different stages of your life relate to your relationship with your father?
Well, I guess now would be the time to say that I'm going to do a book on all that. And I got some really crazy history just traveling around the planet with, an icon like Tito Puente was just, I can write just a book on that alone. But with my path, I originally liked, when I was growing up, I'll start from high school. When I was growing up, I liked rock music. I started off playing drums. That's my first love as a drummer. Phil Collins, Chester Thompson, Neil Peart, all the greats, the great rock drummers. So I was into that bag. My father didn't really care for rock drumming. He was into more jazz, Gene Krupa, all those great drummers, from yesteryear. So he was into that bag, but I was into heavy metal and just straight rock music. Iron Maiden, Metallica, Slayer. Those were my favorite bands. They still are today. And then I traveled with Tito Puente. What happened was that my father did 300 shows a year. And during the summertime, during high school, my mother said, "You're not spending enough time with your father," because he was never really there that much. And I said, the best way we can do it is during the summertime, go on the road with him. And that was the most incredible experience that I can, explain to you guys. Again, I put the definitive version in the book, but just experiencing on the road with a legend like that and understanding that different cultures all have one thing in common, and that's music. And when I would travel to the Far East and to the Orient, especially in the Orient, in Indonesia and in China, Japan, just those countries, they didn't even know to understand the language, but they understood the language of the conga, the timbal, the bongo of Tito Puente. And that took me into the 3-2 clave and learning about Latin music and my first love of it. And that's when I started playing timbal, conga, bongo, and those instruments from the derivative of the drums. I still love rock music, but at that point I started getting into more Latin dance and Latin house music. And then of course I had my own career doing dance music and freestyle and house. And I did 10 years of that, dancing around on stage, traveling the world with my dancers and my crew and all that. But it all comes back to the roots of it all, which is Tito Puente music, in which I play now. Just the ups and downs of being in the music industry. Nelson can probably, understand this very well, that it varies. One thing's for sure is that music brings everybody together. It brings nations and cultures and creeds and colors, everybody together. And I see that through my audiences every time I travel around the planet. Everybody comes to see the music and hear the music of Herrera Timbal. As if you think about it, the music that I am playing is over almost 60, 70 years old. He was creating these songs back in 1949. So it still resonates with younger fans, and it's great to just keep that in perpetuity. Keep it going. Throughout my kids too. Hopefully my kids will take after me, my little son and my daughter, and they're musicians in their own right, and hopefully they'll keep the tradition alive.
When you were home with your father, did you pick up on his work ethic, his practice routines, and how do they affect your practice today, the way you keep your chops up when you're going to go out on the road?
Every part of what you just said is factual. I got all my discipline from Tito Puente. He was I would go as far as saying militant with his orchestra. He made sure that these guys knew that he got the best professional readers, and professional musicians in the Tito Puente orchestra throughout his entire career. He was very, very, just very disciplined in his musicianship. And he wanted to make sure that the band was tight. Yes, I did get the work ethic from him, but I could tell you one thing. As a child, all of us can probably vouch for this. Your parents tell you not to do something. What do? You do it. So there were a lot of drums in my garage. So my dad would say, this is when I was 8 or 9 years old, "No toca mi timbales, no touch my drums, don't touch my things." Not that. What do I do as a kid? Go on the drum. I start banging on the drums. And that's where I got the incentive to play music. But remember, as an 80s kid, growing up in the 80s, I was into Michael Jackson, Phil Collins, Def Leppard, all the Aerosmith, all the pop music at that time. I think the only Latin thing that was popular at that era was probably Gloria Estefan, Miami Sound Machine, that style of music, which I considered to be Latin music. As an American, American-born Puerto Rican, I felt that was really the Latin, tinge at that time. Julio Iglesias, that was really our go-to, for Latin music at that era. But as we evolved and as we moved forward, we saw the Latin explosion. Martin, the Menudo, all that came into play, and it was different genres coming into effect. But Tito Puente was always on the straight of what his vision was with Celia Cruz, which was bringing mambo, guanguanco, rumba, cha cha cha, and so montuno to everybody. He was the leader. He was the leader in that aspect. But his work ethic definitely was there, and Celia's was as well. Both of them. That's why they were considered the king and queen, those icons, because their work ethic and their humbleness to the world really shined. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for that.
One of the focuses of CHAR is an idea that's basically, like, I've noticed we don't always have the best examples of Latinos in the media. So part of the idea of our show CHAR is to talk to leaders in the Latino community. And you're definitely a leader in our community. And I wanted to talk to you about leadership. And, like you mentioned about, in putting an album together, I mean, that's taking on a leadership position, and the organizing, the bringing people together, from a leadership point of view, like, what's that been like for you? And how do you see your role as a leader within the community and within your band and within your business?
So I know my impact, and I know where my voice is being heard, and I know I'm being seen in my social media pages. And so I know take pride in everything that I post or anything that I'm going to say. And I think that comes from my father too, because everything that he did and he said, he meant, and he did it with pride. And I think that's really important being in this world today. Music is bringing people together. I take pride in being Hispanic. I take pride in being Puerto Rican, Puerto Riqueño. I take pride in the music that I present. I think it's multicultural music, and what we bring to the table as Latinos, as just men of being Hispanic, of race, of origin. I think we have very eloquent, intelligent way of speaking. I think we can connect with people around the world. I connect with all ages, creeds, colors, people of all races. Jamaican, Haitian, French, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, every culture. And I think it's time for music to be a part of that culture, since they have given us everything that we have as far as music is concerned. Afro-Cuban music is what salsa is. And it's time now for us as just Latinos and Latin musicians to give back to that beautiful country. And I want to go there and perform and do a bunch of concerts for free and make sure that these people know that we respect their culture and everything that they've given us. So those things are the things that I think about as, and like you said before, what CHAR means. I think as a leader, I feel that those things are thought-provoking, and I want everybody to understand that being a leader in my community, or what I do in Latin musicianship, that we have a responsibility. And CHAR, you guys are important to that. You're giving a platform for someone like me to tell everybody about these important issues that we have as Latino men, around the world. So thanks.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that, brother. Beautifully said, and I agree with you 1000%.
Gracias, hermano.
Seguro que sí.
Yeah, awesome, Tito. Thank you so much. This has been such a beautiful interview, and thank you for your generosity and just the beautiful sharing that we shared today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rami and Nelson, man. Good to see you, my brother. I hope to get out to the West Coast and hang out with you guys. Thank you. Muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes. Es un honor para mí. Yo soy el hijo de Rey Timbal Tito Puente de participar en su programa. Thank you guys once again, man. Nice to see y'all.